Hi, Roger, Wuthering Heights Consulting. Good morning on this Sunday morning. We're looking at a messy weather system coming in. My first concern, however, is with utility interests, and that is with downsloping winds and some strong winds at that. That will be pushing from southeasterly direction, the lowest levels of the atmosphere, and then downsloping along the western slopes of the Green Mountains. Let's explore this by using the NAM model, which has come very nicely along the lines of the European, pretty close to what we were thinking originally. And really no issues through the day on Sunday. Not too concerned, and really in terms of wind. Precipitation, a little bit of a different matter. It gets in here, looks like late in the day or early in the evening, uh, affecting us basically from southwestern Bennington County and then overspreading all of the state with very little change in the last updates. Currently, looking at the wind starting to increase from the southeast direction, and I'm expecting some downsloping qualities to the wind as an area of low pressure will track basically off to our west through Buffalo and then eventually into Quebec. The track of this storm is pretty typical, nothing unusual here. We're looking at a marginally strong wind event, mostly concerns on the western slopes of the Green Mountains, and roughly by around, I'm going to say midnight or so, we'll start to see those winds begin to blow stronger in places like Bennington and then back up the mountain range, the Green Mountains, back into the eastern parts of Chittenden County, and then continuing northward. Now, as time goes on, you can see where the winds are increasing here. These are sustained winds. Basically, we're looking at 20 miles per hour, but you could probably add 10 to 15 to that. So we're looking at some gusts up around 30 to 35 at this point. Those winds continue to increase, and as we get into the morning hours, the overnight period here, we're talking basically now about 5 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning, and you can see the winds are at their maximum or pretty close to their maximum. So relatively short-lived event. By the time we get into 13Z, that's about 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. On Monday, things start to reduce, and the wind action actually is more of a southwesterly wind across the St. Lawrence River Valley and affecting the utilities up toward the Montreal area and then back into the St. Lawrence River Valley. But not so much of a concern for Vermont yet. I'm expecting some pretty strong gusty winds on Tuesday as we have good mixing conditions. Winds are not as strong looking at the NAM model, but they're relatively close to 40, 45 miles per hour aloft and at the 850 millibar level. And so I'm expecting those winds to translate down to the surface along with very, very cold air advection. Also, some lake effect plumes getting involved and some snow squall activity and some upslope snows in the northern and central Green Mountains. All of this taking place downwind of Lakes Ontario and Lakes Huron and Georgian Bay. However, concentrating on the winds, it's going to be a period of winds that looks like roughly from about midnight tonight through about 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then that diminishes considerably. And then we await the Arctic front that will be rolling on through very quickly, packing in some cold air. Let's jump to precipitation real quickly and run the model. Here's your low pressure system tracking basically into Quebec from southeastern Ontario. We'll run it again here, and you can see the cloud cover today, Sunday, and then we get into Sunday night, and there's the precipitation working in across the region, changing to rain, and then the area of low pressure tracks basically north-northeast. Here's the look at the leading edge. Looks like we do get a little bit of a mixture working in out of the Berkshires. This would be probably mostly in the rain or freezing rain, depending on air temperature, and it's going to be a little bit dicey to start. But you can see that this advances up by around, let's see, this would be 03Z, that's about 10 o'clock tonight. So 11 o'clock, that's midnight tonight. And then we get up, this is about 1 o'clock in the morning. Looks like still a little bit of freezing rain, but we're seeing mostly things start to gradually change over from southwest to northeast during the morning hours. And by the time we get to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, mostly rain just east of the Green Mountains, except the far northeast kingdom. They're probably likely to see the longest lived period where some of the valleys could be below freezing. And this area here in the northeast kingdom, northern Essex County is a good candidate. I would say parts of Orleans as well as northern Caledonia County. These areas could suffer probably, we're talking probably a little more than a tenth of an inch of glazing, but really not anything that's going to be worthwhile worries here in terms of utilities. I think the winds are going to be much more the issue. Now, roughly at 850 millibars, this is about the top of Mount Mansfield or so. You can see the warmer air that works its way north, peaks out, and then the cold Arctic air following it. And this is some seriously cold stuff. And one of the things I want to show you here is how this whole frontal boundary works on through. And that's roughly going to be, it looks like, during the early to mid-afternoon hours on Monday. I am looking at the coldest weather sort of exit out of the region, and then the warmest weather peaking out. This is roughly about let's see, about 6 o'clock in the morning, 6, 7, 8, and so we're right now here about 13Z. That's 9. There's 10 o'clock right here. Some of the cold air aloft is beginning to circulate into the western part of the Champlain Valley. So 11 o'clock, that's noon, and some very strong winds aloft notably as well. But it looks like it's not going to be a problem down at the surface for a little time. And then the colder air begins to advect into the region. I want to call your attention to this very, very cold air mass at 850 millibars. This is really going to work in, and you can see as that area of low pressure tracks into Quebec, it swings around. We're on the cyclonic side. The counterclockwise flow will then push all that cold air in. And some of the last frames, I want to show you here what's going on. This is kind of critical. Now note, air temperatures aloft at 850 millibars are a little bit more influenced by the lakes. And this is also probably a diagram of where the moisture is going to be as well. So some thermal properties, that is a little bit warmer, sort of saving our bacon in terms of the coldest part of this air mass, will slice across especially northern Vermont. Southern Vermont probably has a better chance to see colder temperatures, and that would include places like Pennsylvania as well as southern New York, versus northern areas, because we have the thermal qualities of the very warm waters of the Great Lakes, which are basically still in the low 50s and 40s at the surface. So this is a huge effect in the lower levels, and also a ton of moisture interacting, a lot of lake effect moisture with lake effect plumes coming through Vermont and affecting mainly New York. A lot of heavy snow expected in the eastern end of Lake Ontario, the eastern end of Georgian Bay, and all through the Great Lakes as this very chilly, cold air mass, in some cases historically cold, will move on through but modify as it moves downwind east of the Great Lakes. And quickly, the temperature scheme here, you can see how the warm air begins to move in with the area of low pressure tracking, and this area of low pressure moving in. There's 40s all the way up to the Canadian border. It looks like mid to upper 30s holding pat in the colder northeast Kingdom valleys. This is not that detailed out, but kind of gives you an idea as you see the surge of warmth begin to move up into the region, and then that cold front replace that immediately during the afternoon hours on Monday. Roger Hill at Wuthering Heights.